Every warrior has a story, and this one matters. Welcome to the Warrior Roundtable. This is Tina Marie Medlin, founder of Warrior Braids Ministry. This is where faith collides with real life, courage is tested, and hope rises in the middle of the fight. Today we begin part one of a three-part series, and I'm honored to be joined by Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall as we talk resilience, sacrifice, and what it means to keep standing when everything else says you shouldn't. Pull up a chair because you're not alone at this table. All right, welcome, Ben.
Thank you. What a pleasure to be here.
Oh, we are so happy to have you here on the Warrior Roundtable. I know you don't have too much time, but I want to jump in first before we get started. I want to just give a shout out to your books. I know it can't. One is called Saved. This has been out since what, 2023?
That's right. It came out on the 1 year anniversary of the attack in Ukraine. So
Okay.
March 14th, 2023.
And it is excellent, excellent read. And then your newest one, let's get the blurry out from blurring my background, is called Resolute, How We Humans Keep Finding Ways to Beat the Toughest Odds, which I think is amazing because we here at Warrior Braids Ministry are always trying to help people find ways to beat their toughest odds as living with chronic illness. So I want to start with in your books, both of them talked about just the adversity and what you had to go through. And to me, I think about a warrior because that seems to be our theme here at the ministry. So what does a warrior mean to you?
Well, I mean, going back to the books, first of all, the reason that I wrote the second book was because so many people reached out after the first and they said, we'd like to understand how you got through the hard parts. We'd like to understand how you came out of it being positive in the way you have. And so I think the second book, Resolute, was my attempt to write, in a sense, what I believed a warrior to be. And it was a book that, first of all, wanted to acknowledge that, because so many people said to me, gosh, you've come out of this with such an optimistic look. Everything seems going so well for you. And I always wanted to go and say, being a warrior does not mean that it's always good. The reason that I wrote this book is because I got to where I am through hard work, through the ups and the downs. And that's what being a warrior really is. I think being a warrior is someone who can get through the hardest moments and know that they can get there. Someone who can stand up and say, I know things are difficult right now, but I'm going to find my way through. Being a warrior is someone who gets through these most difficult moments, not only for themselves, but for others. And I think that's critical. It's about thinking of other people when you get through them. And so I think being a warrior is someone who can pick themselves up when you are knocked down and I suppose is no longer afraid of being knocked down because they know they can get through it. And then being a warrior is someone who can get through something themselves, but more importantly, it's about helping other people get through it as well. And look, on a wider scale, it's about fighting for what you believe is good and for the right reasons and the right morals. And I think if those are behind you, so if you have everything from, you think about community, family, faith, if you fight for those things, if you fight for others, if you know you can pick yourself up and you can find a way through anything, no matter how hard it is, if you can accept that you are going to be knocked down, but pick yourself up, those things, I think those things define a warrior.
That's fantastic. That is really a true definition of a warrior. I love it. So our ministry exists to remind people that they don't have to fight alone. This kind of follows up with what you were talking about. In your books, you do highlight the medics, the colleagues, and family that helped you in your survival. How important was that community? I know you talked a little bit about it when you talked about being a warrior, but how did that community help keep you going and in this support to survive and recover?
Essential. 100% of my recovery really, I think, was down to them, because in those first few days, well, frankly, in those first 6, 7 months when I was in hospital, and at the beginning when I was barely conscious, I was in and out, I was in this strange place where I was analyzing my injuries. I didn't know who I was. I felt I lost my identity. I couldn't even remember what the real world was like. I was surrounded by people who guided me, nurses and physios, doctors, and my family. And I had to make a really crucial decision early on. You know, before I was injured, I went through life thinking, I can figure it out. I know the solution. I'll do it. Don't worry. But I knew soon after my injury, almost straight away, after that, we were blown up. Um, I
Mm,
knew I needed help. First of all, I needed help to get evacuated from Ukraine. And I write about that in my first book. These
right.
people, these amazing veterans came to find me, risked their own lives to come and find me and evacuate me. And at that point, I knew I can't move. I've lost limbs.
Mm,
I had to put my faith in them. So that was the first point. Though that was the community around me. And I said, you tell me how I can help and I will do it.
right.
Whatever it is you need, I will do it and you lead. And then I got to the hospital and I felt the same thing. I said to the doctors, you tell me what I can do because I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know what the future holds. You guide me, you show me. I said the same thing to my wife. I don't know what the future holds, and I know it's scary for you too, but you lead the way, you guide me. Let's get through this together. And it was relying on all these other people. It was turning to them and it was saying, I don't know, but you can show me, that really helped. And I was really lucky because I was treated by the US military, and I was in Texas at the Brooke Army Medical Center. And there were people coming in the door every day who had been injured the way I've been injured, veterans who were the part of my community. And they walked in the door and they said, we went through it, you can go through it. And I relied on them showing me what I could get through. So 100% of the time, I looked to other people and they guided me through. And I like to think in some way now, I like to say maybe I can help others who are going through it as well, because when you're going through something for the first time, it is scary and you can be
Mhm.
lost and you don't know how to get through it, but the people around you can do it. And I remember that's a message that they knew. And I
Right.
remember when I landed in Texas I was on a C-17. It was a brutal flight. I'd been hallucinating. I was really in a bad place. And my main doctor got on board on the runway. The back of the C-17 came down. He went straight up and they started analyzing me. And he looked me in the eyes and he said, we got you. You're in
Mhm.
our hands. We got you. We seen it. We got you. And it was just the way they reached out and showed me that we're doing this together. That's a community. And boy, did it really probably save my life being part of an amazing community.
Oh, you gave me goosebumps. That that is I can't even imagine what you went through. I'm sure too with all of the community that you had around you. I feel that your number one fan was probably God, probably
Mm,
having your faith in him and knowing that he's got you as well.
totally. It's interesting because I spoke to the pastor, the priest at the hospital on
Hmm.
this US military base in San Antonio, Bamsey. And I said, surely many people must come in here injured, because hundreds and hundreds of people out of Afghanistan, Iraq, soldiers who were injured, they went through the
That's where
same,
they would go.
they
Okay.
went through that system. And I said, many of them must come to you and say, how could God have allowed this to happen to me?
Mm.
Where is my faith? Uh, and we had fascinating conversations about what that meant to so many people. And he said it was so difficult trying to explain to some people, God gives everyone their own separate life, their own hurdles to get through. And you've got to realize that the only way to get through it is just to keep fighting forward and try and find the best and try and use it for something positive to pass on to other people. And he said it can be very difficult to explain that to people.
Yeah.
Look, I imagine many people with chronic illness must feel the same way.
Oh yeah.
Has God abandoned me? Like you've, Tina, like you're one of the most remarkable, kind people who their whole life wants to go out and help people. And I'm sure there are times you must think, why, why me?
Oh yeah.
God, like I've been following and praying and loving you my whole life. Why me? And look, I think about it when I think of natural disasters. You
Mm.
know, I think of Camp Mystic.
Oh
And
yes.
I just all these times arise, and I think, place it takes you to think about to keep your faith strong after something like that means that your faith is stronger than ever, and that's a
Yeah.
remarkable strength that you find. And
Yeah.
faith
Well, and
can.
a lot of times I feel that, people that do struggle with chronic illness or have had a catastrophic, event happen, that's the first place they go. is God a lot of times, sometimes not. But I find that people who, were possibly partial believers or such, that they just cling because, I don't know, the teachings, it's embedded. I don't know, but we just know that God is always there for us, even
Well,
when we think he's not.
totally. Well, it brought me closer to God. I was raised a very strict Catholic. I was
Hmm.
educated in a monastery and in boarding school, and I kind of drifted away from my faith during when I was covering conflicts around the world, and I sometimes wondered about established religion, and maybe I didn't need it. Maybe I just had my own faith. Um, and but there are a few occasions when I was working, seeing a bombed out church in Syria where just the altar was standing. ISIS had destroyed all of it, and I remember seeing this one crucifix standing there and speaking to the priest who was still there. One voice in the middle of northern Iraq or Syria on the border somewhere, and he was just the faith he had to keep on preaching. But when I
Wow.
was lying on the ground right after being injured, few moments later, I put the flames out and knew I was very badly injured, leg gone. I thought of my family and I thought, how am I going to get home? And the next thing I did, I thought of God and I asked God to get me home. And that's where I went. When everything was gone, I went to God and I said, please, Lord, you tell me what to do and help me get home. And, you know, and it was fascinating. So that brought me back. And ever
Right.
since then, I've been sort of really, my faith has grown and grown since then.
Amazing. I love that. Well, he is good, that is for sure. Thanks for joining us for part one of our three-part series with special guest Fox correspondent Benjamin Hall at the Warrior Roundtable. We've kicked off this journey diving into courage and resilience, but there's still so much more to come. Next week, for part two, we'll explore hope and healing in the middle of the fight. I'm Tina Marie Medlin, founder of Warrior Braids Ministry, reminding you, no matter the battle, you're never alone at this table. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Keep fighting, keep faithful, and keep being a warrior.